Let me ask you something. How much money do you think is actually in the average millionaire's bank account right now? $1 million? $500,000? Try 20,000. Yeah, you heard that right. Most millionaires don't actually have $1 million sitting in their bank account. And if you're watching this video hoping to learn how to get $1 million in cash sitting in your checking account, I'm about to save you years of wasted effort and show you what wealthy people actually do with their money. Because here's the harsh truth. Having $1 million in your bank account is actually a terrible financial decision. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the people who are truly wealthy think completely differently about money than broke people do. Let's get into it. The $1 million myth. First, we need to destroy this fantasy that most people have about what being a millionaire actually means. When you think of a millionaire, you probably picture someone with $1 million in cash, sitting in their bank account ready to spend whenever they want. Right? Wrong. That's not how wealth works. That's not how any of this works. See, when we talk about millionaires, we're talking about net worth, not cash in the bank. Net worth is the total value of everything you own minus everything you owe. Your house, your investments, your business, your retirement accounts, all of that counts toward your net worth. According to the Federal Reserve, there are about 22 million millionaires in the United States. That's roughly 1 in every 15 people. But here's the kicker. Most of these millionaires don't have anywhere close to $1 million in liquid cash. A study by Spectrum Group found that millionaires with a net worth between $1 and $5 million typically keep only about 25% of their wealth in cash and cash equivalents. And we're not just talking about checking accounts here. This includes savings, accounts, money market funds, and short-term CDs. So if someone has a net worth of $2 million, they might have $500,000 in liquid assets total. But in their actual checking account, probably more like $20,000 to $50,000. Just enough to cover their monthly expenses and have an emergency cushion. Why? Because keeping massive amounts of cash in a bank account is literally losing you money every single day. The inflation problem. Let's talk about why having $1 million in your bank account is actually a bad idea. It all comes down to one word: inflation. Right now, inflation is eating away at the purchasing power of your cash at a rate of about 3 to 4% per year. Some years it's higher, some years it's lower, but on average, your money loses about 3% of its value every year just sitting there. Meanwhile, what's your bank paying you in interest? If you're lucky, maybe 0.5% on a regular savings account, high-yield savings. Accounts might give you 4 or 5% right now, but that's a recent development, and it won't last forever. Let's do the math. If you have $1 million sitting in a bank account earning 0.5% interest, you're making $5,000 a year. But if inflation is running at 3%, you're losing $30,000 in purchasing power. That's a net loss of $25,000 per year. Every single year, over 10 years, that $1 million might still say $1 million on your bank statement, but its actual purchasing power has dropped to about $740,000. You've lost over $250,000 in real value by doing nothing. This is why wealthy people don't keep large amounts of cash sitting around. It's not an asset. It's a depreciating liability disguised as safety. See where millionaires actually keep their money. So if millionaires aren't keeping their wealth in bank accounts, where is it? Let's break down the actual asset allocation of people with 7-figure net worths. According to research from Capgemini's World Wealth Report, here's approximately how millionaires allocate their wealth. About 30% is typically in equities, stocks. Not individual stocks they picked because they saw something on Reddit, but diversified portfolios of index funds, mutual funds, and carefully selected individual stocks. The stock market has historically returned about 10% per year on average. That's how you build wealth, not by letting cash rot in a checking account. Another 25 to 30% is usually in real estate. And I'm not just talking about their primary residence. I'm talking about investment properties, rental properties, commercial real estate, REITs, real estate that generates cash flow and appreciates over time. About 20% goes into fixed income investments, bonds, treasury securities, high-grade corporate debt. These provide stability and predictable income, especially as people get closer to retirement. Around 10 to 15% is in alternative investments, private equity, hedge funds, commodities, cryptocurrency, business ventures. These are higher risk but offer diversification and potential for outsized returns. And finally, only about 20 to 25% is kept in cash and cash equivalents. And again, most of that isn't sitting in a checking account. It's in money market funds, short-term CDs, treasury bills, things that are liquid but still earning something. Notice what's missing from this allocation? $1 million in a checking account earning nothing. The real millionaires. Now let's talk about who actually becomes a millionaire, because this might surprise you. It's probably not who you think. The typical millionaire in America isn't a tech entrepreneur or a professional athlete or someone who inherited a fortune. According to research by Dr. Thomas Stanley in The Millionaire Next Door, the typical millionaire is someone you'd walk past on the street without a second glance. They're 57 years old, they've been working and investing consistently for 30-plus years. They live in a middle-class neighborhood, they drive a 3-year-old car, they don't wear expensive clothes or flashy jewelry. You'd have no idea they were wealthy just by looking at them. About 80% of millionaires are first-generation wealthy, meaning they didn't inherit their money. They earned it and saved it and invested it over decades. The most common professions: engineers, accountants, teachers who lived below their means, small business owners, middle managers who maxed out their 401ks every year for 30 years. These people became millionaires by doing the opposite of what social media tells you to do. They didn't chase get-rich-quick schemes. They didn't try to become influencers or day traders. They didn't buy lottery tickets or invest their life savings in meme coins. They did something incredibly boring. They spent less than they earned, invested the difference in diversified assets, and did this consistently for decades. That's it. That's the secret. The compound interest reality. Here's the thing that broke people don't understand about building wealth. You don't need to make $1 million to become a millionaire. You need to invest consistently and let compound interest do the work. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're 25 years old and you start investing $500 a month into an S&P 500 index fund. Just $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Most people spend more than that on subscriptions and takeout. If you do this consistently and average a 10% annual return, which is roughly what the S&P 500 has done historically, by the time you're 65, you'll have $316 million. You only contributed $240,000 of your own money over those 40 years. The other $2.9 million. That's compound interest. That's your money making money, which then makes more money, which then makes even more money. But here's the catch. You can't spend that 40 years checking your balance every day and freaking out when the market drops. You can't pull your money out during a recession because you got scared. You have to stay invested through the ups and downs. This is where most people fail. They don't fail because they can't save $500 a month. They fail because they can't handle the emotional roller coaster of watching their account balance fluctuate. They panic sell at the bottom and then buy back in at the top, destroying their returns. The wealthy understand that wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about time in the market, not timing the market. The liquidity trap. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what if I need that money? What if there's an emergency? This is what financial advisors call the liquidity trap. It's the fear that keeps people holding too much cash, just in case. Here's the truth. You should have an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account where you can access it immediately if needed. For most people, that's $10,000 to $30,000. Beyond that, it should be invested. Because real emergencies that require more than 6 months of expenses are incredibly rare. And even if one happens, you can usually liquidate investments within a few days if absolutely necessary. The real risk isn't not having enough liquid cash. The real risk is losing decades of compound growth because you were scared of a scenario that will probably never happen. Think about it this way. What's more likely? That you'll need immediate access to $1 million in cash, Or that over the next 30 years, you'll want to retire comfortably? Wealthy people optimize for the probable, not the possible. They plan for retirement because they know it's coming. They don't keep $1 million liquid for an emergency that probably won't happen. Number 4. The business owner exception. Now, there is one group of people who might legitimately have $1 million or more in their bank account, at least temporarily. Successful business owners. If you've built a business and you sell it for $10 million, yeah, you might have a huge cash balance for a while. But here's what smart business owners do after a liquidity event. They immediately start putting that money to work. They pay off any high-interest debt. They max out their retirement accounts. They invest in real estate. They diversify into index funds. They might keep $1 million in cash for 6 months while they figure out their strategy, but they don't just leave it sitting there forever. Because even these people understand that cash is trash in an inflationary environment. They work too hard to build that wealth to watch it erode at 3% per year. The asset class breakdown. Let's get specific about where you should be putting your money if you actually want to build wealth. For most people, the foundation should be low-cost index funds. Not because they're exciting, they're not, but because they work. The S&P 500 has never had a negative 20-year return period. Ever. If you invest in broad market index funds and hold for 20 years, you will make money. It's as close to a guarantee as you can get in investing. On top of that foundation, you can add individual stocks if you really want to, but keep it to maybe 10% of your portfolio. Most people are terrible at picking individual stocks. Even most professional fund managers can't beat the S&P 500 over the long term. What makes you think you can? Real estate is another solid wealth-building tool, but it's not passive like social media gurus claim. Being a landlord is work. Dealing with tenants, maintenance, property taxes, it's basically a part-time job. But if you're willing to put in the effort, real estate can generate both cash flow and appreciation. Bonds and fixed income become more important as you get older and closer to retirement. When you're 25, you can handle volatility. When you're 65, you need stability. A good rule of thumb is to keep your bond allocation roughly equal to your age. If you're 40, maybe 40% bonds and 60% stocks. And please, for the love of everything holy, do not put your life savings into cryptocurrency or meme stocks or whatever the latest get-rich-quick scheme is. Can you put 5% of your portfolio into speculative investments? Sure, if you can afford to lose it. But your core wealth-building strategy should be boring and proven. Dr. Arsh, the tax implications. Here's something else people don't think about. Keeping $1 million in a bank account has tax implications that make it even worse. Any interest you earn on that money is taxable as ordinary income. So if by some miracle you're earning 4% on $1 million, that's $40,000 in interest income, and you're going to pay taxes on all of it at your marginal rate. If you're in the 32% tax bracket, you just lost $12,800 to taxes. Meanwhile, if that money was invested in stocks or real estate, you could be taking advantage of long-term capital gains rates, which are much lower. You could be deferring taxes by keeping money in retirement accounts. You could be using tax loss harvesting to offset gains. The tax code literally incentivizes investing over saving. The government wants you to put your money to work in the economy, not stuff it under a mattress or leave it in a checking account. Wealthy people use the tax code to their advantage. Poor people ignore it and pay way more in taxes than they should. The psychological aspect. There's also a psychological component to this that we need to address. For many people, seeing a big number in their bank account makes them feel secure. It's emotional, not rational. But here's the thing, that feeling of security is false. Inflation is silently robbing you every single day. Your $1 million is becoming $970,000 in real purchasing power this year, then $949,000 next year, then $913,000 the year after that. Real security comes from having assets that grow faster than inflation. Real security comes from diversification. Real security comes from having multiple income streams and a portfolio that can weather economic storms. Seeing $1 million in your checking account might make you feel rich today, but it's making you poorer tomorrow. The action plan. So, what should you actually do? Here's the simple action plan that will put you on the path to real wealth. First, build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. This is your safety net. Don't skip this step. Second, pay off any high-interest debt. If you have credit card debt at 20% interest, pay that off before you start investing. You can't out-invest 20% interest. Third, max out your tax-advantaged retirement accounts. 401k, IRA, HSA if you have one. Take full advantage of any employer match, that's free money. Fourth, once you've done all that, invest everything else in a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds. Don't try to be a genius. Don't try to time the market. Just invest consistently and let compound interest do its thing. Fifth, automate everything. Set up automatic transfers so you're investing before you even see the money. Pay yourself first, then live on what's left. And finally, be patient. Wealth building takes decades. Anyone promising you riches in months or years is either lying or selling something. The truth. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You probably won't have $1 million in your bank account, and you shouldn't want to. What you should want is $1 million net worth, and then a $2 million net worth, and then a $5 million net worth. Built slowly and steadily over decades through consistent investing and appreciating assets. The people who have actually achieved financial independence aren't the ones posting screenshots of their bank accounts on Instagram. They're the ones quietly investing 20% of their income every year, living below their means, and letting compound. Interest work its magic. They're not exciting. They're not flashy. They drive normal cars and live in normal houses and wear normal clothes, but they're building real, lasting wealth, while everyone else is chasing the illusion of a big bank account balance. The question isn't, how do I get $1 million in my bank account? The question is, how do I build $1 million net worth? And now you know the answer. It's not sexy, it's not fast, it's not going to make for good social media content, but it works. It's worked for millions of people before you, and it'll work for millions more after you. The only question is, are you disciplined enough to actually do it? If you got value from this video, smash that like button and subscribe because I'm going to keep giving you the real truth about money, not the fantasy that everyone else is selling. Drop a comment and let me know what your financial goals are. And remember, build assets, not bank account balances. I'll see you in the next one.